All right, let's get this started. This is Yoko. Yoko is the wife of my best friend from Israel. Funny enough. Did everybody know that? Before we had the name Yoko, we actually thought about the name YokoVillage. True story. And there's actually a whole story around that, but we won't share it today. Yoko Kitara, she has a spa in Jaffa, in Tel Aviv. Fun fact about me, twice I had green card in the United States, and twice I've given it up. Which is funny, right? This doesn't happen. And the second time was because I was participating in this entertainment tech project, and I was actually for 2 or 3 months trying to, just rediscover myself as an actor or as somebody on camera, but that was not me. So we moved forward. So, the story about how YokoVillage started was related to another story for the immigration company that I was running for 5.5 years out of the Bay Area. And after a few years of doing that, it really grew. And it was making a lot of money, but we weren't making any money because we were paying a lot of money on legal fees. That buried us, basically. So my partner at the time said, hey, let's move to Poland, where she was from. And she said, hey, we're just going to hire a bunch of lawyers in Poland. We'll teach them U.S. immigration law, and we'll cut down all the costs and make a profitable company. So in December 2018, I burnt out from that life in the U.S., always chasing the next round of finance, always doing the very best but not really making it. That's how I felt. And so we moved to Poland and started this team that was run by that guy. His name was Leonardo. He passed away. And after Leonardo passed away, it was just after we've trained these Polish immigration attorneys. And I decided to come here to heal from my burnout. I was carrying the burnout for about a year. So I was already super burnt out and sick, and I sometimes repeating these patterns is that I work too much, preaching the choir, and that's the truth. And so after being burnt out and spending a year and maybe about 2 months completely burnt out, working sick, I was like, I'm going to go to Costa Rica to heal. And so I got an Airbnb for 4 months to spend here this season. And after a week, I decided that I'm not going anywhere. Santa Teresa is just like that picture there that says, there is not enough time to do all the nothing we want to do. But it's really kind of like one side of Santa Teresa. You can have awe and wonder and just enjoy this place all the time. But in that, there is the entrepreneurs inside of us, the doers that, and we can't stop that. We always produce, right? That's what we are. And I shared that picture there because when I grew up, you guys know Al Bundy? Who here knows Al Bundy? That was my favorite TV show as a kid. Just wanted to share that. Okay. This is me and my sister. And a little bit about me. So, I grew up as my grandma's child. And even my friends in Israel, they call me Saftush, which is grandma. Fun fact. And in the Jews, as we like to call them, they love money and soup. The way we project love is through food. And when I wanted to project love to all of you guys, I got to get Dory to share with us such amazing food. Let's shout it for Dory. Dory is amazing. Been eating so well. I also have 2 children in Israel. Fun fact. I can tell you this story later. And I'm a fanatic of Labradoodles. This is Lola. Everybody knows her. And we actually had a bunch of Labradoodles that were born here, and some of us, we gave them out. We have a few on the back. I love paddle boarding and paddle surfing. I'm actually not a surfer. The surfers and me don't get along. They don't like me. Exactly, because I'm a stand-up paddleboarder. And YokoVillage started with some very deep roots. So on the left there is me and Serrana. We were together for 6 years, between 2004 or 5. And Rakesh, who's one of the first investors in Yoko, we were all traveling and living in Argentina in 2005, 6, 7. And this is another photo of us in Santa Teresa 2 years ago, about 16 years later. Pretty cool. Another fun fact about how Yoko came to be is that in order to finance kind of like the pre-seed round of Yoko, I actually became regional partner for Amazon in Costa Rica during 2020 and managed to make a lot of money out of them and start Yoko with that. This is a fun fact. So when I came here in 2019, the real story was I came to the house. I was next door. You can see it from almost from here behind this house to my friend Danny, who we became very good friends in 2008 when I was spending about a year here, living here. And as soon as I came here, I just thought, wow, I want to have what he has. I want to have this beautiful property, and I want to live free. I saw how some people who lived here for about a decade, how they developed, and they developed really nicely. They all have kids, everybody's beautiful, healthy, financially well. And actually, the couples here, they kind of, once the new couples sometimes don't make it, but it seems like relationships actually work in Santa Teresa for many people. And David Pervan.
Thank you. So who recognizes this? Who was in San Francisco Bay Area in the fall of 2020? So this is known now as Orange Day. There were crazy wildfires on the West Coast, blanketed the Bay Area. The sun rose, and it was surreal. I mean, it was something I've never seen before. Why am I showing this? Because this was the start for me of my Yoko journey. So this was the day that I reconnected with Liran, who previously, so his immigration company helped me to get my visas to come to the US. So we stayed in touch. He was in Costa Rica running Amazon and told me about Santa Teresa. He's thinking about doing a project. And so we had a call scheduled, and it happened to be on this day. And, we spoke about the idea of building a community in a place like Santa Teresa. And in the context of the day, it made a lot of sense. I was like, the life we live is not sustainable in many places, in many ways. I mean, out of all things, we probably depend on air the most, right, to live on. And to have that being taken away in such a dramatic way, for me was like, yeah, this makes sense. We need to go somewhere. So very quick background. I became the first investor, co-founder of Yoko in the early days of the pandemic. Not too much about myself. I have a background in chemical engineering. Top left is a picture of my lab during my PhD. Top right is me in Santa Teresa eating the cheesecake that we ate earlier. Serial entrepreneur, started companies on all kinds of stuff. Electric cars, coaching, medical cases, blue carbon. So bottom right is me planting mangroves in the Bahamas, where I worked on one of the biggest mangrove reforestation projects. And fun fact, I'm a contemporary art collector and investor as well. Anyway, so I was reminded that we're doing the right thing 2 months ago in New York when suddenly there was another orange day when I just moved to New York. So yeah, here you actually can't see the skyline.
Okay, so also like wanted to talk about the vision and why we're doing this, and I spoke about it in the previous Yoko Connect. It was my presentation, and I really hate presenting on stage. I feel so comfortable here, like this. And so for me, when I was in kindergarten, I asked my mom to change kindergartens. And then when I was in the 3rd grade, I asked her to move me to the other school. And when I was in high school, I said, hey, I don't want to finish this. I want to finish by myself. So I finished privately. I just did the test, but I dropped out of high school too, because I didn't like it. And then they put me in the military. And that was horrible for me. I didn't enjoy it at all. And eventually I declared insane to leave. So in Israel, I'm an insane person by by some people, and very sane by others. Right? And so later, I wasn't even sure about school. I did some college in the U.S. and I did some in Israel, and actually I didn't appreciate that as well. Only when I left that and became, went to seek my fortune, that's when I actually discovered myself, because I just didn't function well in any protocol system or organization that as a young person. I think that guidance was something that I was missing as I was growing up, and maybe perhaps for that I'm a late bloomer. But that's directly related to the vision of Yoko, because for me, I always was looking at what's going on, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do the same way that everybody's doing. I just doesn't feel right to go to school and get a job. It doesn't feel right to even have. It didn't feel right to have family in Israel, in the city, because I could see and feel that something is off. This is just like nobody's really happy, and the older generation in Israel, kind of like similar to other countries, is just spending 15 years of their life watching TV. And then you see a lot of parts of the culture where I always felt outsider. So I started moving a lot, and then I realized that the best life was to live in a place that is warm. I always like dreaming. I wanted to live from summer to summer. I just don't want to experience winter. I didn't like it that much. And then I was thinking, how can I get married and have children and send them to the same schools that I really hated and didn't connect with? And these things are repeating. So I kind of wanted to change paradigm and do something different. And so when I was an entrepreneur for many years, about 17 years of entrepreneurship before Yoko, but I've always done things that wasn't really aligned with me. Actually, when I started Yoko, it's the first time I felt like, oh, I'm finally doing something that's really me. This is really me. And the real me doesn't want to live in the same place and believe that while this may not be for everyone, it is. I don't want to live like everyone, and I want to have my dream is to have a house here and a house maybe in the Netherlands, and maybe have the ability, just with this house I can swap it and go to and live in a few more places around the year, or this 2 years I'll do here, next year I'll do there, and have a community, a family that I feel part of. And so I realized if I don't try to create it, it's never going to happen. Let's see if we succeed. And so the vision of Yoko is really to encourage other developers that have a certain type of consciousness and values that are similar to us, where we can all be connected globally. And I feel like this is something that's happening. The relationship that I have with Ronit, is she here? I think she didn't make it. In the Netherlands, clearly shows that, and I am looking and wanting to open Yoko to more, as the brand, to more locations, but only if it's done responsibly. Right? So the journey started, and you guys think, what was the main intention in Santa Teresa? We are on a path to own here a total 140 something hectares. Right? It's a lot of land. It's around 350 acres of land here. That wasn't the plan. We didn't plan to own so much. The real story is that we just wanted to do Yoko North over there in the beginning. But as we started Yoko North, we realized that we may not have a project. Today we know we have a project. But we weren't sure we have a project. I was so terrified that I wouldn't be able to deliver. And that brought me to Yoko South, right? And when we went to do Yoko South, we actually realized again that we made a big mistake, and that if we don't buy everything around it, we won't have the project. And so we also were planning to do an event space and a retreat center, which is so needed here, like a proper one, right? And so this is how it became. After Yoko North, we bought Sangha next door, and then we bought Yoko South, and then suddenly it's a holding company that has 4 other entities, and we're managing 5 companies, and it's a whole organization, and now we need to think differently. Liz here was talking about Danny Meyer and setting the table, and also about unreasonable hospitality, which she recommended me to read, and I've been, ever since, being an advocate of that book to everyone. Is Liz here? Yay, Liz. And I'll actually get back to that. Or just to say this, there's 2 ways of doing this, right? There's the way of like the art of like kindness and kind of like setting up the very best. But at the other end, there's the corporate thing around it, because you can't make the best dishes and be profitable if you don't have really good accounting and really good finance, really good, amazing people behind you that are actually helping you. And Jeffrey introduced us to, Jeffrey is not just a construction company or helping us with the permits. He actually started his own political party. He knows everyone in Costa Rica. He introduced us to important people who've really helped us. So just a lot of people are asking what's going on, how does the map look? There is a data room, which if you have questions about what are the lots, how can I understand more, you really need to put proper time in it to understand it. Otherwise, we're just going to show you a little bit. So like here it is. At the end, we're trying to cut Yoko North for a lot less lots, because we don't really want to build 48 homes there. We want to protect the forest, and we realized that the original plan that we had was maybe a little bit too much. So there are 48 lots there today on the map, but we are not planning to build more than 30, and hopefully not more than even 25. And if I could have it my way, it's even less, but we'll see. Yoko South, however, is going to be a lot more populated just because of the size, right? Yoko South is about, 13 times bigger than Yoko North. And today we had a different type of hike there, which was a lot more hardcore. And there's just so much different topographies there, and we invite other developers who want to build their communities, because we have areas like Yoko North. We have a bunch of Yoko North inside Yoko South, and we want to bring people that are talented, that want to start their community within the community. That's totally possible with the amount of land that we have. Right? One of the biggest lessons I learned in Costa Rica, which I live every day, is when I came here, I feel like this was just a few years ago, but I feel like I was young and bold, because I would not do it again today. We started from scratch. We took a land that had no access to it. The first people that would come to see it, we would hike, we wouldn't even know where we were at. We had a moment like that, I feel like, in Yoko South, but now we have XML maps, we know where we're going. We started really from nothing. We built bridges just to be able to get there. The first hikes we would do there were insane. And you went there to this like crazy road that we built that bridge. And this is the co-working building that I was referring to when we were walking in Yoko North. We plan to build the most sophisticated co-working building here. Can't wait. And all these communal spaces that you guys know about. Hey David, you want to talk about sustainability? That's kind of important too.
Hello. Okay. Sustainability. So there are many ways you can do a project like YokoVillage and development in Costa Rica. There are many bad examples, I would say, in Santa Teresa. For us, sustainability was always very much at the heart of what we do, and we feel very strongly to have sustainability as part of us at all times. And so these are some of the examples of things we do. We commit some of our profits to local NGOs to help women start their own businesses from the local community. We organize weekly beach cleanups and river cleanups. When turtles hatch, we help them down to the beach. We do regular beach cleanups. So these are all part of what we do, and we feel very strongly about it. Same thing goes for sustainability in construction. So when you build big infrastructure, there's often different ways you can do it. There's a conventional way. So in this case, it was a retention wall that had to be built. And the cheapest and most conventional way would be to build a massive concrete wall to hold the soil in place. And so in this case, we chose an ecological solution instead of concrete, which is 15,700 plants that we plant directly into the wall, whose roots grow into the soil and hold the soil in place. And so this is one of the examples of where you have choices, and you can take the ones that you feel more aligned with, even though sometimes, or most of the time, they're more expensive. But so this is an example. We actually walked past this in Sangha, where now it's beautiful and fully grown, and you see birds and hummingbirds and pollinators and everything.
Cool. These videos are on our YouTube channel, Yoko Company. And before we say a few words about business, because a lot of people were asking us, and like, Liran, why aren't you talking about how much it costs or what's going on? I just want to say this about the sustainability part. So we really made crazy efforts in Santa Teresa, but not this year. In the first 2 years, this year we've done very little because we didn't have the luxury to do so much. This year has been a bad financial year for everyone doing anything, I think, right? And we just didn't have that luxury. But during the first 2 years, we had tremendous success here. So whenever we can, we do. And we many times feel misunderstood by the local community here. We are essentially the biggest project in Santa Teresa. That automatically makes many people dislike us. I like to say there is the hippies and there is the capitalist hippies. Those ones, they like us. But some of the people here in Santa Teresa, they just don't like any development. But only if they knew Nitzan, right? Only if they knew our intention and the stuff we're actually doing with what we've got. What's really happening behind the scenes, right? And so one of the things that we're going to make an effort over the next season to change that is to just bring more of actually what we do outside. We realized that we can't have everybody like us, and that's okay. Many times you walk in Santa Teresa, you would hear about Yoko is a bad people, a bad project, all kinds of stuff. Liran is going to jail. We've heard all kinds of stuff. And I've learned how to deal with that. In the beginning, as we started, we had a lot of advertisement. So we were the best. I think we're the best marketers in town. But that didn't do good for us. If we would do it all over again, we'd probably do it a lot more stealth because we were really out there shining, and people didn't really understand what we are. Just like as the Israeli guy coming to cut the trees. And so this season, we're going to create this event space as a fixed space. So we're going to have, and we want to start the professional business meetup in Santa Teresa, and also invite the community every week, every weekend to have here a mini event, which will be tied up to wellness, but also to later to presentations and more like the classical side of people. And there are so many talented, from Jack Dorsey to Tom's Shoes, all kinds of very famous founders actually live here most of the year nowadays. Many incredible people, and we want them to come here, and we want the people around them, and we want the other developers that are our competitors that have caused us a lot of damage. And I'll just say a side note for this, I like to say this to everyone because I'd like to set all the hard stuff right here on the table, and then you come ask the hard questions later if you want. But our competitors, which are also our neighbors behind Yoko South there, Hacienda Okra, have hired attorneys, have complained about YokoVillage to all of the institutions in Costa Rica, essentially creating damages that were very expensive for us, and almost a year of a delay with Yoko South, right? So we could have already been there doing that if it wasn't for all that. And while competition is competition, some people here would live on the other one and say, we don't want these people here closer to the sea in the better location. We came here first, or I don't know the story. But it's important to say, not everybody like us. And when you hear about it, let me know. Anyway, so there are different ways that you can become our neighbor if you want it, or your friends, or in the future. And Tobias here, which talked about the joint venture yesterday, which by the way was amazing. Kind of like represented the best option to get started if you're not ready to buy your own land or to actually be here. The joint venture is really awesome, especially because we've already done so much work. There's already half the funds deposited. We're ready to build there. Jeffy already gave us a proposal. We accepted. And so that starts at 50K. But when I came here in 2019, I bought this property. I was doing impact immigration. I wasn't doing exits in immigration, so I didn't come with so much cash. I actually put 100K down and did a seller financing deal with the owner, and I took a bank loan in Israel that some people co-signed for me to get it because I don't live there anymore. Actually, I haven't lived in Israel most of my adult life. Fun fact. And so for me, that was the best thing that over the last few years until today, that I feel like I've done. Oh, I got myself this property, and it's giving me so much ease. I know that if one day I want to go away, this could be rented easily. I know that it's already doubled or tripled its value, and every few years the properties in Santa Teresa double their values. If you look at the trends, I came here first time in 2002, and there were already a group of people that I knew from Israel that were here. Some lovely people, others less. And here, the real estate is something that works. Okay, this year was a bad year, but real estate works. And so, if you want to go a little bit more, and you do want to get that land for yourself, for your family, maybe you would flip it in the future, maybe you actually become a member of the community. Both is okay. We don't limit anyone. We do have an application process, which we can discuss later, but essentially we would build your home, but in Yoko South, you can, if you don't like Jeffrey, you can do it with anybody you like. I don't think you'll find better, but you might. Whenever you're not there, we take care of things for you. You don't have to worry, right? And the returns here are amazing. We'll discuss them in a minute. And there is Yoko North, and there is Yoko South, and there is Senga, right? And we actually have different investment opportunities in all of them. So, quick, because a lot of people say, hey, how much is this cost? Somebody said earlier on, you have 100K lots in Yoko South. No, there is no 100K lots in Yoko. There is no 100K lots in YokoVillage. There is 150K. Very small at the bottom, kind of like the ones that we are afraid we're not going to sell because they have some sort of defaults that maybe, I'm not sure anybody would actually go for them. But the actual nice lot starts at $200,000. The ones that are in the forest that are kind of like a little bit less limited. And once the lot in the forest is titled and ready to build, it becomes 300K, which is what we're selling lot number 3. The only actually available title that's not built or committed in Yoko North right now. There's one title like that. And by the way, it may not be available soon because there is already somebody looking at it. So, quarter of an acre, which is about 1,000 square meters, are the lots you see in Yoko North. And the average lot size in Yoko South is 1.2 or 3 acres, depending how you look at it. And so we have 4 categories that we created with prices, but then we also have some other lots that are kind of like the exception, some much bigger ones, which are a lot more expensive. So if you want a private road that leads to your land and really like be very disconnected, there's a few of those as well, and they go by the million. Prime ocean views is a category recreated, which means you see a moving picture, you see the waves. There's just a few like that left because a lot of those were bought when we bought the property. Mountain views is when you see mountains, and jungle view is when you're inside the forest. Okay. Then we created homes, and they seem very expensive over there, and they are. The same homes when we started this costed a little less than half of what it is. So that 2-bedroom used to be around 200K, and now it's 500K. This is what inflation and COVID did to the construction industry. But it doesn't mean that you can't spend $200,000 and build a 2-bedroom home. You could totally spend that, and you can even spend less and build a 2-bedroom home, right? It really depends what you want to do. For that, we have some great architects to recommend you. The best one is Sarana, who couldn't be here. Sarana! Yes. Sarana is shy, just so you know. Yay! Excelente. So, yeah, Sarana designed a few layouts, 2, 3, 4-bedroom, horizontal, vertical. At the beginning, we only had horizontal, but then we realized that while these houses are a dream, they are not that great for the environment. So we went and created something that's still huge, in my opinion. The vertical, did you see the 3-bedroom vertical? And so just to say this, the prices in Costa Rica, when the topography is really good, it's around 1,500 if you're going on a low end. And the average Yoko price, the cost, is around $2,500 per square meter, okay, or around $250 per square feet. This chart was for the observed prices during 2021 and 2022, okay, which were really good years in Santa Teresa. 2023 isn't that year, okay? Prices are now less than 50% of that. And so this place fluctuates a lot, okay? In 2019, when I got here, it was almost the same prices. And people are going, this is going crazy insane, going crazy insane. And then it went even more expensive and more expensive. This place, I like to think about it as a ski resort that has powder 365 days a year because there's such good surf, and the surf is the most consistent in all of Costa Rica here. It's a lot more consistent than other locations that are popular, like Nosara. And it's just a place that's always going to be growing. So it always comes that the old people that were here, they don't like the new developments, and the new people come and they don't like, you know how that goes. But this place doesn't have that much rain like most of Costa Rica. I don't know, the south of Costa Rica is a dream. but it's not that inhabitable. It's hard to live when it rains that much. And over here, now is the rainy season. This year is not that rainy, but you really have a good life here in terms of weather. And I find that better than any other place. Not to mention the food and the people and the international vibe that we have. Later, if you guys want to look at what the returns are, we have a data room, ask for it. In the data room, there's even a video that explains to you all the charts, okay? And you can compare, there's air DNA, which you can compare occupancy and rates, and you can see where we're at with that. You can look at years back. You can look at even projections on years in the future. Let me tell you something. With this property, I've had around 20% since I got it. And I also wanted to share why house number 1 is such a good deal. And so this is the first house. This was going to be the model house. We winded up finishing house number 2 before because it was for somebody who's not here. But we built house number 1 from a loan that we took. And by the way, we do debt deals all the time. We'll talk about this in a minute. House number 1 sits on the title. You guys have been there. It's beautiful. To build this house, it's about $700,000. That's our cost, okay? Not including all the extras that Jeffrey's going to tell me I owe him later. And then the title lot is worth $300,000 when it's ready. When it has electricity and everything, we even have fiber internet there already, okay? Imagine the business side of things for a second. $300K, the cost of the lot, $700K, the cost of the house. How much do you think you pay interest rate in Costa Rica to take a loan? These bridge loans in Costa Rica are brutal. They say it's 13%, but it winds up being 20% in the first year, and it winds up being a little bit less in the second year. So essentially, we're selling this house for free, all of our work and effort. And this is because we really want to get the money now versus later. And soon we'll share a little bit more about that right now. But this house, if we get a little bit ahead of ourselves, is going to sell for $2.5 million easily in a year or two from now. Easily. And these houses were sold at these prices a year ago and 2 years ago, all around town. So if you're going to go around town and look what's in the real estate offices and you compare prices, you'll see. But see the location, see what's the water situation, and see where it's, what's really going on there. You'll see that the actual prices that we have are actually the best in the market, and that's because of our size. We can afford those prices. But house number 1, there's never going to be such a deal. To put so much effort in building something beautiful like this and then sell it at actually your cost is not what we plan to do. So me and David, you go, yeah.
Where do we start? So 2 months ago, Liran invited me to come along and go fundraising together. I put all of my companies and projects on hold, and we spent 45 fun days on the road, touring around the US, spreading the message of Yoko. So the one on the left is previous one is in Central Park after we pitched some investors. The one on the right was in Austin. We went all over the US, and also with Michelle, we went to Austin, who came along, and to Utah, to Devon, and some of our partners. Basically spreading the message. Actually, some people here came from our tour when we met them, but mainly to raise money, which we are doing now regularly, debt deals. So the quick update on that is we just closed $500,000 bridge round. We are raising another $1 million bridge round now, and we have a term sheet for a potential $27 million debt, where we are entering due diligence right now. So we are very active, and let's see where it goes.
Okay, so last week we raised $500K from members of Yoko South because we just got all the permits after 1.5 years of a lot of trouble. And now that we got it, we paid for everything we need to pay. We offered crazy returns for the debt deals that we do. So we try to do them in the community instead of going to some Wall Street banker and have them make all that money. We offer crazy collaterals with large parcels of land. YokoVillage South being owned by a trust today. So we deposited in a trust in order to create additional security for our investors. Essentially, what we did for this 500K, we took a loan from the members of the community, and right now these are open only to members of the community. But we give between 20 and 22% for these loans when we do them, and whoever becomes a member can access those. Like David said, we got a term sheet from a very well-known fund, which is kind of like a huge bank. We actually did some great research and realized who actually knows how to invest in Costa Rica and the US. It took us a few months, but we nailed that out. Hopefully a second and a third term sheet on the way, and then we can actually haggle on the first one. We have Ronnie here. We actually met that fund through him. Thank you, Ronnie. Yeah, you opened us a big door. Oh. So the newsletter, and this is just the end of the conversation, and then we start the roundtable. Every month we work, me and Corinne here, we do it together, and Andre helps us. And we put a lot of effort in trying to convey the hard work that we are working, everything we're doing here. We're trying to convey that as best as we can in the newsletters. And sometimes we think something is happening, and we're saying it's happening, and then it doesn't happen. Sometimes better things happen, and we don't even share those. But if you are not subscribed to the newsletter, you're missing out on what we're doing. And we always make it good. So if you want to see what we're really doing from month to month, that is the best way. As soon as you sign on the website, you get added to the list. When you become a member, you get a special list, which is called the Inner Circle, where we share more deep and private things and also investment opportunity. Aside from that, we also have a community app, which we are not happy about. And after meeting Melissa over there, we're considering changing to her service. We'll see. There is a community app where we share a lot of news and stuff we're doing, and if you wind up being in the area or you're going to Europe or you want to join a retreat of another Yoko member, there's other Yoko members that are doing amazing retreats, and so we're sharing about that. I'm going to a retreat of a Yoko member in Portugal this September. You're all welcome to join me. And actually, we are getting a boat, a yacht, that is going to the Maldives. Everybody's pitching in, and we're doing like a Yoko founders, surfers type of trip. Maybe you want to say something about that? Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. So I think we can all agree that this is an amazing event, and it's so much fun to be here. And so we are stepping up, not just doing regular Yoko Connects, but also doing events outside of Costa Rica with a similar spirit of bringing together interesting people, inspiring people, doing activities together. So we are setting up a range of trips. So one is going to be on surfing, the next one in the Maldives, probably some other ones on some other activities. Which is open to Yoko members and to non-Yoko members who are just generally interested. So these are always going to be maybe week-long trips. Maybe I can give away the other activities. Surfing is going to be one of them, scuba diving, skiing, and snowboarding. So the idea is to do more of this and also in other locations and meet people where they are, right? Do one in Europe, do one in Asia, do one in the US, and also continue to do stuff in Costa Rica. So that there's a continuity for people wherever they live to come together, join beautiful moments together.
And, you know, if you were in TK's workshop today, I'm telling you, I'm going to go to more workshop where TK is going. What an amazing, amazing workshop you gave us. Thank you so much, Terry. from the bottom of my heart. You're amazing. All right, last thing I want to say about the event is just like most people bought tickets, some people didn't. If you didn't buy and you want to give a certain donation for your participation, we're happy to accept. If you haven't, yeah. So again, just to say thank you for our team. We did this, like we re-edited this presentation that we have done for a long time, and we didn't have enough time to find a photo of Viviana. But she's here, I hope. We have an amazing team. You know, you see this guy on the side, on the bottom, Ariel. We've been working with him. Here he is, Ariel. It's amazing graphic design. And we met each other first time here after like almost 3 years of working together. It was really awesome. We have a really amazing team. And thank you, team. You guys are here. Thank you. So, thank you for listening. And now, let's start the debate. If you guys are still up for it, if we haven't tired you off, dinner is coming. But now is a great opportunity for you to ask questions. What bothers you? What did you hear that you're not sure about? What would you like to share in this forum where you can all speak? Clay, yes.
What exactly do you mean that this year was a bad year? I didn't quite understand what you're referring to.
Well, what happened in 2023 is that we all suddenly realized that construction costs have went almost 3x. And the money isn't worth as what there isn't that much money around like before. People don't make money anymore in crypto. The stock market is down for too long. It's hard to make investments. And the banks would give you a high interest rate right now. So investing in real estate during 2023 hasn't been great for anybody in the area. Now, for us, we were building a community, but real estate is our fuel. That's kind of how we see that. So when I say it's a bad year, I meant the occupancy rate hasn't been the same because people haven't been traveling in the same way. Also, it feels like Santa Teresa was open during the pandemics, and a lot of people that are fans of Santa Teresa have spent here a really, really long time.
Oh, that's what I did. That's how.
Yeah, there you go.
With it, yeah.
And so now the world is open, people are going more places, and these are cycles. This has been a bad year because for every dollar that we spent, we lost about 20 or 30% of that dollar between Costa Rican currency and the dollar. It became a bad year because it takes 3 times longer to get construction materials down here, and the list goes on. It hasn't been the best year in financially for the world, and neither for real estate, and neither for Yoko, to be completely honest.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Don't be shy.
I don't feel like I'm going to be very articulate with the question, but something that candidly I told Jabaris is that the Yoko house number 2 that we went to, as much as I like the house, from a functional standpoint, the living area feels quite small to me. Like, I'm like dining room table, couch, both aren't going to fit here. Am I putting my dining room table outside? And that said, and using that thought processes, when you say it's going to cost $1 million to buy it, and then we're going to sell this for 2 or 2.5, it seems like a little bit of outrageous speculation. Do you want to debate that?
Yes. Let's do it.
Where am I putting my flat screen TV?
No, and this is exactly what I love because I want to hear all these things and I want us to talk about it because we all have different opinions and we're all different. And we all have different necessities. So first I'd say that when we designed that house, we did it with our experience living in Costa Rica. And when you live in Costa Rica, you spend most of your time outdoors. So the outdoor space is where I actually hang out a lot. And when it comes nighttime, it's nice to have a smaller space. It's easier to, it doesn't require so much electricity to, a bunch of ACs or huge ACs, and it's just really designed like that. It's very different than the, living here is very different than the lifestyle you carry maybe in the US, right? And the necessities are very different because over there you're a lot more inside, so you want to have a bigger living room. Now, we in Yoko design homes thanks to our brilliant architect, but we design them according to our standards, which are improvable, editable, and you can choose to design the Yoko house. Hello, hello. You can you can choose to design the layout the way you want. I actually, what I don't like about the house is I think that the bedrooms, for me, I want a larger bedroom. So I feel like these bedrooms are not big enough for me. So the reason why I encourage anybody who has the money to buy house number one for this price is because I've seen many homes going for double that aren't as good, not in a gated community, not with amenities, not with a community, and not as nice. This house is about 3,200, or I'm not sure exactly, square feet. It's 324 square meters. And although some of the spaces are smaller inside, for some people, it's great. So we're all different. And seeing what's going on here, so when you go and buy a house, you don't need to wait for the construction period. When you buy now land in YokoVillage, you're buying land that is about half of the market price when it's actually all done. So you're coming as an early adapter. You're coming early, you're buying cheaper, you're waiting out this time. A year of rental here could be $100,000, $150,000 on that villa. And so that is money. There's work around it. And so for somebody to come here and there are many people here that like to come and just have a ready-made thing. Most of them can't afford it, but those who do would prefer to save time and enjoy it for some time. And maybe, it's a commodity that can be also exchanged and sold many times. But I am very sure that the prices that I've seen here in the years before, after this cycle ends, this economical cycle ends, I see what they're going for, and I see what the other homes in the market are going for. I see Derek looking at me like this, yes, because he knows, he's done his research, and he knows how much the homes are going for, and he knows what the homes are like. And there aren't as beautiful homes like that for that price. Go check, find a home like that. It's at least double. Yeah, and if we get this term sheet, we're probably going to up it. And our plan also, so we're going to get this additional $1 million in financing from our members, hopefully over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then we're going to, if it doesn't rain too much, we'll make the decision to start carve the road in Yoko South. When we finish the road, and during this dry season, we'll put the infrastructure there. So we're going to put water and electricity. And once we deliver that road in a nice package to the municipality, we're going to start getting all the titles. So we have dozens and dozens and dozens of titles coming in, and the whole project changes his life. We come out from the poverty of developers started slowly with nothing, doing a lot, working hard, into, this is a commodity that's now sold in the market and everybody knows this is for real. So Yoko as a brand by itself is also going to just get more lucrative. And it's not going to be just those early adapters who are standing in line for the iPhone as it comes out, but it's going to be everyone. Now we won't have everyone, but the prices are going to go up. Lisa, another question?
I mean, I have 4 more questions, but...
All right, we'll get back to you.
Just to touch on the house, Tobias, have you considered a fractional, ownership model for that since it hasn't sold yet? Maybe shift the group over to that house for it's ready built instead of waiting a year.
I don't know if we'll allow it, But
Just a thought.
well, I love these thoughts because we're entrepreneurs and we're flexible. We don't come with like nothing is written in stone here. We want to do the best thing, and everything changes all the time, and we want to adapt.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm Eric, for those of you that I haven't met. Hi. Thank you for this. Thank you for the opportunity to have roundtables around roundtables. This is exciting. And also, thank you for curating this amazing experience. I don't want that to go unnoticed and unrecognized. I think having talked to folks individually, we've all gotten something amazing out of that. If anything, this is both informative and what I wanted to know, and also the biggest buzzkill of the conference. Because what I want is, when I'm hearing about gates and yachts and early adoption and a lot of language that centers around a country club mentality, and when I think that you mentioned community a lot of times in the talk, it related to the people in this space and not locals of Teresa. So it's not even really a question, it's more a comment, which is, don't forget about the multi-generational people who have lived here and the assumptions that perhaps this group is making on their behalf. And my one concern, and I spoke to Sonora about this beforehand because I was a little nervous about bringing it up, is, to my knowledge, like we did hear from Jeffrey and we maybe heard from a couple of other people, but on stage, there weren't community members from Santa Teresa talking about how they felt about Yoko. And at the next conference or Connect, it would be wonderful to have that, even if they're speaking through translators, to know what folks in Santa Teresa who live here year-round, who are, again, multi-generational folks in this area, think about Yoko, how much they know, how they might get engaged, and that would just be great information to know. Just don't let the ethos of this few days get lost in square feet, and
Absolutely.
that's it. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And if just to say something around that, so we made insane donations when the market was with us. We donated money to the school of Rio Negro. They don't have no idea who we are. We have donated cars here. We started a kitchen to help local women from Nicaragua, started a cooking business. We have a whole vision that I want to share, by the way, about that. And we gotten last Yoko Connect from this guy, Ray, who's a friend of some of the Yoko members, who owns a language school, to give free classes to Nicaraguan women for English. I bought Maria a laptop. But I promise you we won't forget. And even more than that, it's really important for us, the locality and the people that are helping us. And there is all the time these friction when you're the developer and these thoughts, oh, you know, square feet and this, but honestly, and I was telling this to Jeffrey the other day, is like, we're not the people, when you build a community, you're not doing it for the money. It seems like there's so much money, but there actually isn't. Because all the money goes to build communal spaces, which cost millions and millions, and to build proper green infrastructure, which is so much more expensive. Just not the part that Nissan showed us. It could be so much cheaper, right? But so actually, and I was saying this today to some people, that the local developers here, they're all foreign. Let's start with that. Let's also start about the multi-generation thing that you mentioned, because it's important to say something about that. There is no multiple generations here in Santa Teresa specifically. There is in the Nicoya Peninsula. I came here in 2002. There was probably 100 people living here, maybe less. There was only one place you could stay at. There was nothing. It took 4 hours to go like on a bumpy road like that from the ferry. And there was a group of foreigners here that a lot of them were from Israel that were tenting here and living, I don't know, selling hash to tourists that were coming by. There was nothing here literally 20 years ago. The history of this place, as far as I know it, is that the Costa Rican government gave to 12 farmers huge lands, and then foreigners started coming here and started buying and trading. I heard lands being traded for a bottle of whiskey, all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that somebody mentioned here today is that you guys, if you don't live here for a really long time, at least, and when I say a really long time, I say at least a year, it's very hard to understand what's really going on here in the jungle, and who's who and what's really happening behind the scene. But we do care about not just coming here and taking. It's about giving back. So in YokoVillage.com, you could see a lot of the stuff that we've done, because we finally, like about a year ago, created a sustainability and social impact page, and we started putting things that we're doing there. You'll just see that in the last year we haven't done too much because it was a harder year, but you see a lot of the stuff, and we're gonna get there. Part of what Yoko is promoting is entrepreneurship, big part, right? The whole thing about the co-working community has always been, we want to live close to nature, but we want to work, we want to create, we want to do, we don't, this is not going to get boring, you know? Entrepreneurship, if done here, the way people that are being attracted to Yoko, it's going to help by it's a thing that regenerates itself because of the people. So what I'm hoping to do is being able to just open a lot of possibilities from the money the real estate makes, so that the entrepreneurship can thrive here and can give back. And there's many ways to do it. Hopefully, when we're a little bit more advanced, because we are such an early stage project right now, right? And we have a lot more capabilities to do more.
Thank you.
El proyecto tuyo, por ejemplo, para... A while ago, I was working for Yoko as a community manager, and while I was doing that, I came up with a project, beautiful project with macaws, and I did all the research and contact all the people, and the way to bring them from Tambor, they are over there, to here is just to create a corridor, and just planting what they eat is what is gonna bring them here. So it's a project that is in the list of things to do, but it's already advanced. I have the people. I contact this is an association that brought them back because they were getting extinguished, and there is this people that is working for them, and Yoko was gonna donate a lot of land, so we were able to plant everything and coordinate, because at the beginning you have to feed them, and then you let them eat, and then the next day you feed them, and it's a process. And I was doing it, and it's there. It's just gonna flow whenever is the moment. Yeah.
And also, just to say this, there are so many Yoko members, and Nora is also an investor and a member of Yoko, by the way. Not just, she came to work as a community manager at a time that we really needed to just sell and buy the land, and it was kind of like the wrong timing. But can't wait to be really ready for you for that. Everything takes time in Costa Rica and anywhere. Good things take time, right?
First of all, I just want to say thank you to the support staff for putting this on. Obviously, Eden, the bartenders, the chef, obviously Costa Rican time a little bit delayed, but it's been so smoothly and so amazing all weekend. And secondly, to everybody, I feel like I've made, a ton of new friends this weekend, which has just been incredible. Now my question is, you mentioned Yoko North is the one lot. Where are we at with Yoko South? How many lots are sold? How many more are available? I know we were obviously delayed and jumped through quite a bit of hoops and red tape. Where are we at? Can you paint us a picture, please?
Yes, thank you. There are 41 parties, members, families, individuals in Yoko South. And there's 10 in Yoko North. We actually had 24 in Yoko North, but we offered the upgrade for larger lots with nicer views in Yoko South, so a lot of people moved, and that was great. Yeah, so does that answer the question?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of get a complete picture of where we're at with the community from a numbers standpoint on, who are my neighbors going to be eventually and, what's going to happen over the next 5 years, 10 years, et cetera.
Yeah, and 41 in Yoko South. Yes.
Is it 41 lots have been sold? Is it?
Yeah, there are
And
four.
that kind of actually is a great segue. I'm going to do a twofer question because it's a part of another question I have. But so is it 41 people who've bought individual lots? And of those people, how many of them do you know for certain are going to build on those lots versus holding the lots? Which leads to my other question, which is, what are the requirements if we wanted to just buy a lot and sit on land for the next 5 years? Is that okay? Because obviously that impacts the creation of a community where you're going to have neighbors. And what are the property taxes if you buy a lot and you just sit on it for a while? 3 questions.
Nice. All right, I'll start with the last.
And I have more questions.
All right. Okay, but you stay with the mic and you ask me one question at a time because I get to forget the other questions.
So of the 41
Yes.
individuals who have purchased or are committed to Yoko South,
It's
how many of it's 41 lots?
There are 41 lots, yes. There are maybe a couple that bought more than one. So there's more than 41 lots. There's also lots that are reserved for the team. So the team of Yoko, we are doing this because we are also part of this, Oh, the team of Yoko is going to live in Yoko.
How many total lots are there in Yoko South?
258.
Okay.
Yes. And to answer the other question, you are not obligated to build. You can sit on it. That's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Yeah. But you just need to have 2 neighbors build next to you to not have construction noise. But you can sit on it, and by the way, it's a great investment to sit on it. It helps us develop faster, and you can't lose when you buy a lot to sit on it and sell it when the market is right. Yeah.
And so
So yes, all the lots aside of one, friends of Melissa, who did the seller financing deal that we are offering for certain lots, are all paid in full in cash. And we started offering this year seller financing options. So you would put either 100 or 200K, depending on the lot. And then if it's more, the other 100, 200, 300, whatever it is that you're buying, you could finance that for 10 years if you want it. The rate is at 7%. 7. What was the other question? There was another one.
yeah. So if you're buying property taxes,
I'm not up to date to that, but it's a few hundreds of dollars a year as far as I remember. Jeffrey, do you have it?
that sounds very low.
0.25%. How much
Somebody
is
do the
that?
math. I know $300,000 lot. What is that? $750 a year.
Yes.
That
It's
sounds
not
very
like the
low. It
US.
is
Yeah,
not
you
like
can
the
really be
US.
free. Buy a lot, live your life, build your house. You don't have to work anymore. Eat from the trees. I'm joking. The thing with property tax in the US always personally scares me. I am kind of like scared from the United States as a person. And I'm always worried when I even get there. Oh, you know what? I'm worried about Israel too. Allegedly. No, on papers. in a good way.
I have more questions. So this interesting the debt financing, I think it's exciting. Look, I lent money to WeWork in the beginning. By the way, their seed investor wasn't funding. He was my seed investor. I dealt with the same nightmares, and so I lent them $200,000 in the beginning. They paid me back in 8 months, and it was a promissory note at 12%, and that was exciting to me. So what's the minimum tranche of that creative financing that you're willing to put out a promissory note for?
So we would have a private conversation. But
The round table just got much smaller.
as a
A
general
private round table for two back over
as
there.
a general matter, we would do 12% with anyone. But for the fast deals that we need fast because something's happening, we need the money, then we offer more, and usually the members do it. The Yoko members cover it, as has been so far. And we do debt deals all the time. As part of a big development, we have to. We can't just rely on sales because if it's a bad year, you have to continue. So actually, I was very worried about that part, but now I'm starting to opening up and understanding that this is the reality, and this is what you need to do when you're in my position.
Yeah, it's how you move the project forward. I mean, exactly. Creative.
Yes. We want to learn from nice people. We enjoy them.
Makes sense. A lot of mutual benefit.
How about electricity cost, infrastructure-wise?
Okay, so for the whole project, so the whole infrastructure for Yoko South, by the way, we have a proposal there at 6.5 million to do everything. This is fiber, this is water, this is electricity, and these are roads. And we're going to discuss if that includes paved or not. But yes. So remember, you said it publicly. I'm just joking. All right. So yeah, in Yoko North, it's around the third of that because when you build and you develop at scale, it's cheaper.
I have a question that's twofold. This is about zoning. If you buy a lot, I love, by the way, the creative financing and all that you guys have done to make this possible for people who aren't in the 1%. So, but let's go a little deeper. If you can explain, if you buy a lot, how many, the zoning, how many actual units could you build on that lot? Is it just one house that everyone shares that one house? Or could you think of it differently, like maybe there's 3 houses on one lot? Is the property zoned for that? I know that's 3 refrigerators and septic tanks and the whole thing. So
Yeah.
maybe it's...
Let me answer the question. We'll see that I got Big Daddy that also wanted to respond that, but okay. So there are different types of zoning for the lots. You have agriculture lots. Those are usually permitting 2 homes legally, but you can you can do more areas like aside from these 2 homes. And actually, according to the law, if that hasn't changed and I didn't notice, the second home is supposed to be for your, like legally for the guard or for the horse or whatever, but that's actually a home, and legally it becomes a home. That's kind of how it works.
What about flying homes?
Wait.
How many flying?
So for the agriculture lot, which is usually 1.2 acres or 5,000 square meters, that's 2 homes. And if you're going on a road that has, you're going on a lot, you're buying a lot that touches a public road, we're in the business of creating public roads here also, that are actually private roads. You can build 70% of whatever is out there. Yeah, so then you can kind of, if you have a topography that allows you to actually build, you can build many homes. What we're going to do, it won't matter because we're not going to just do septic tanks and wells like everybody's doing here. We're doing something more in depth, which, by the way, will take more time, takes more time. So did I answer the question right? Now get the better version of this. Yes.
So pretty much there is no zoning in Santa Teresa, only in the maritime zone. So in the rest of the county, we have 2 types of lots: urban lots or agricultural lots. In the urban lots, you're allowed to do 75%, as many houses as you want, and you can go as high as you want. In the agricultural lots, the rule is you can do a house of 300 square meters, 2 floors, including the pool. Additionally, you can do up to 10% of the size of the lot. You can do as many small houses as you want that should be for your workers. But in reality, you can do bungalows or glamping or stuff like that. So there's ways to go around. And as you saw yesterday, we have the people from Congress here yesterday because we're pushing a new legislation that will allow you to do 25% and as many houses, 50% and as many houses as you want. We expect to approve that law within the next 2 years. I just have friends. Sorry? That's why we're in the business of building. We build roads and we build communities. That's what we do. But what do you mean a difference? Like? Okay. In the project, we have a combination of both types of lots. We have some are agricultural and some are urban lots. The difference is the access. The easement will serve the agricultural lots. But we are pushing, and I cannot promise anything, but we are pushing to transform those easements into public roads.
Easement is another important word here.
So this is probably a Jeffrey question, but are there any disaster considerations? You know, there's a penchant for mudslides here over 5 years, 10 years. What happens to the land? Is there degradation?
We went through those studies through the licensing process for the environmental license, which is approved. We are allowed to move 250,000 cubic meters of dirt. So that means that we changed Yoko's out a lot. But the way that we're designing, we're preventing not to create more problems for the future. So we're gonna do water control. We are gonna cut as little trees as we can. And the soils is very stable in this region. I don't see any other problems. We are facing some little problems in Yoko North, especially in his property, which is my headache. But the stability of the land. Because that area was developed years ago through other mechanisms, so they didn't prevent this type of problems. In Yoko South, we are fully in control. So we are going to be, and we have that discussion many times being around, that we will do whatever it takes to provide security for the investments. And as you saw, the roads are already built. We just have to improve them. So as you see, stability is there. You see the trees. So I think it's not going to be an issue in South. And in North, just David is the one who has to deal with that problem.
And by the way, what's the guarantee for the house?
Once you finish the house, the guarantee is 5 years for the structural damages. Maintenance is 1 year. But that's one of the things that we have to establish in Yoko. We need to create a good maintenance program so we do preventive maintenance instead of dealing with the problems that comes in this type of environment.
Which is parts of the HOA, which will be to maintain the communal spaces and the infrastructure. And that's going to be a few hundreds of dollars a month, depending on the size and the amounts of bedrooms of the house. Calculated around $300 a month.
Is this on? Okay. So it sounds like you have learned a tremendous amount about developing in a relatively sustainable way. Have you had conversations with Santa Teresa, like the actual community, the city, in terms of bringing your lessons learned to their development? How was that process? It seems like there could be a lot to benefit from Santa Teresa. Having Yoko kind of learning all of these building principles and so on and so forth?
That's a tough question. Because I see, so the municipality, the alcalde, the mayor, it's kind of been our friend. We have a close relationship, but this person may be not elected in a few months, and there's another person. I feel like there's a lot of disconnect over here between authorities, big disconnect. And I think we need to bridge that gap. And that's why we need an event space, because we need to invite people over and have these conversations. And right now, it's very fragmented, the way things are going. Nobody's really talking to anyone. There is no council that you can come and participate. It's kind of wild, right? So, go ahead, Jeffrey.
I come from the future. I come from Manuel Antonio. We did that mistake in Manuel Antonio. We didn't support the local community to prevent those damages in Manuel Antonio. Our time passed in Manuel Antonio. There's no way that we can do it because there's no sense of community. I think one of the things that Yoko will provide to this community is that we can support the local organization to create the regulations that will allow us to succeed in the long term. Yoko South, I see it like an independent country. So what I'm counting is that in the next Yoko Connect, we're going to have a roundtable how to regulate Yoko South to keep Yoko South being the jewel of Covano. We are already going through that process with Yoko North, and Serrana is doing a magnificent job with the way that she's designing, the way that she went through to build the roads. So I know Yoko Connect, as Yoko North, as a small community, is going to be like that. It's going to provide that to the town. But in Yoko South, we have the opportunity to set up an example how communities should be done in this part of the country. And at the same time, we have to promote the local entities to enforce the law, because that's what we are lacking here in Santa Teresa. We need enforcement of the law. And they're willing to do it, but they don't have the resources. So Yoko is involved in helping and providing human resources to do that. Lyra is not normally fully aware of all this because this is what happened while he's doing all what he does. But we are doing major efforts with the local authorities to make that a permanent program. But we need help from this community to do it. In that sense, Charmaine is trying to put a big effort to do a foundation to help in this matter.
Yeah, one of the, Chris Kyle that you all met, his wife, planning to start a foundation to help the Nicoya Peninsula, called the Nicoya Peninsula Foundation. And we were in contact with SINAC to do a private public agreement to help them develop the park. So there is some stuff that are cooking.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Hope to get more next time for that question. Yeah. More questions.
Hey everyone. Couple of things that really excites me about eco villages is one, growing food. What plans are there in place for the farming part of it? Like I see the opportunity as a community to grow a bunch of food and everybody playing a part in that and having that communal space being a place where we can all go. So some of them's a family signs up you cook dinner once a month, each night, one night a month, you cook dinner, right? And then you're going to this communal space and somebody else is doing it, on different nights. Would be interested to hear what kind of plans you have there for not only planting fruit trees but other vegetables and then having some excess too that you could give back to the community, especially if times get crazy and there's another epidemic or something, and then we have we have our fortress built where we can all survive and we got we got food and everything, and interested in that. And then second, having a family, got 2 young kids. I've heard a possibility of a school, and would just be interested to hear what your thoughts are there. Yeah. Regards to that.
So to start with the school, at the entrance to Yoko South, we're going to build a school. That is 100% happening. We're looking for the right way to do it. We've been in contact with this company called Boundless.live. They just wrote us back a few days ago, and we haven't replied because we've been in Yoko Connect. But we are planning to build a school at the entrance. Then to your question about farming. This area in particularly, when it was pandemic, we were having a blast here. When everything was shut down, there was no worry about food. There's so much access for food and water here. It's very abundant, just for the sake of that emergency. That's always in our heads. But in Yoko, we plan to plant trees of all kinds. Actually, in Yoko North, where we had it so far, because we still in Yoko South we haven't done the land movement, so we're still pending. But in Yoko North, we actually counted every single tree, classified every single tree, and we done it 3 times before we decided where to put the road. And we want to plant fruit trees of all kinds, but we're limited to what really grows in this area, which are a lot of good stuff: mangoes, papayas, right? Kinds of lemons. What? That's it. What else grows here? A bunch of stuff, but not that much. This area, Malpais is called like that because it's not so much growing there. It's actually a lot of trees and jungle, but I am not a farming expert. However, I'm really looking forward to have the time to maybe learn more about that, maybe one day be that. Part of this is the second community event that we're doing. So we're like just getting started. And what we want to bring, like we brought Nitsan here to talk about water, right? She's that water expert coming with great tech. We want to bring companies, founders that understand this better than us and create solutions. In Israel, everybody's always pride about how it's a country that drinks water from the ocean, and everything grows in the desert. So the tech is out there. We need to figure out who, what, and if you guys want to help and get involved. We have a channel about that in our community app. It's pretty much abandoned right now, but we're gonna start feeding it as soon as we get into the right community app. There is a plan to have thousands of fruit trees planted, and we want to also obligate members in Yoko to plant trees every year, and actually have a dream about like a clone center for trees in Yoko South. I don't know if we'll make it happen, but lots of dreams at this point, and waiting to be a little bit more advanced to dream even further.
Great, thanks for answering that. Definitely an interest, and I could also see the kids' school. Like obviously there can be different mindsets there, but having like the holistic approach going into that, like being more of a very into nature school here, where there's all the stuff they can learn from the ocean and the land, and they can be in the wellness center. Like my daughter does ice baths with me. She meditates. Like to be raised like that would set like such a good foundation that they don't get from the public school back home. So food for thought.
I'm
Thank you.
full alignment with that.
Yeah, this is probably going backwards, but when you say a Yoko community or member, what exactly are you referring to?
That's a great question. So far, Yoko member is somebody who's done an investment with Yoko that usually has bought a piece of land, and we have kind of like a member channel that we speak and communicate. So the members are the ones who trusted us with their investment, usually. Yes.
And fractional owners members as well.
Yes. And Sangha investors. Yes. Anybody who's investing with us that trusts us, then we consider as a member. And if there's more options and you have more ideas, how we can consider member, we are interested in creating an additional type of membership, but we're kind of looking into that right now. Is team members. Our Yoko team should also raise their hand, I think, because you're all going to live there. You're members. You can work at Yoko and become a member. And in last Yoko Connect, we had 20 Yoko members. This one, we had a lot less. um, especially because we made it in a bad time where everybody's going to school and can't make it because of that. That was the big thing that we're not going to do next time. This date's in August.
I remember you saying something about an edible garden and talking about that a long time ago, and that excites me because I'm into agriculture and food and growing things in the right way. I had a question about fractional ownership. I really love the idea behind it. I think it creates a lot of opportunities for you to diversify and be able to own. For me, I really enjoyed the presentation, and I think it's so cool what you're doing. My only hesitation would be that I have to pay to use my space. And so I just kind of was like, no, hard no, right after I heard that. So I don't know if there's a way like around that, or maybe the people that use it get less ROI that year, or, you know, I don't know, some things you're not like forking out money when you want to leave. Like, I want to go for a week. I don't want to pay $2,000 to go, you know, and that's just kind of my thought process. So I just wondered if like that's flexible, and I think other people might have the same question. So, but yeah, I would love to have a place I could go to, and I'm almost like, well, they can't use it too bad. But I understand why you do it that way, but I just wonder if there's like an opportunity that might be different.
Sure. So the reason why we have done it that way for now is because not everyone can actually make use of the 3 days per year. And if you put in 100K or 150K, you have respectively more days. And if you then cannot make it, it's very unfortunate, right? And while others that can make full use of it, they are driving down the rental income. And that's why we thought it's the fairest deal, that there's a discount rate on the number of days. And the rationale is that this is still creating rental income that also flows back into your pocket, at least partly, right? However, having said all of that, that's a rule in the operating agreement, and that's a rule where we as shareholder can come to a different conclusion, right? We can come up with different settings. And I've heard that question before. It's been a question of concern, and I think that's absolutely one that we can discuss and change as we see it fit. There are downsides to coming up with a fixed amount of 3 days or whatever, right? Because we would still be 10 to 14 co-owners, and that's a sizable number to manage, right? You cannot just break up the year, because then 1 year you cannot come, and then you say, can I change? And then like everyone in that group has to make changes, right? While some people specifically want to be in for the investment purpose, especially those that commit IRA funds, right, that cannot use it for themselves. So, bottom line is, if that is holding you back, that's certainly a rule we can change, because that's the nice thing about co-ownership, right? To get down to this and change it as the community that is owning it.
I guess there could be a vote, but you're gonna want to be there in Christmas. Everybody's gonna fight for Christmas.
Blackout date, just why wouldn't you create like blackout dates? I mean, low season, because you already said in the presentation last night that occupancy projections are right at 60%, there's going to be like 65, 70% or something like that, or so 30% vacancy. So just, use those as blackout dates. Or the opposite.
Right. Now, we said already, first of all, exactly, it's like 60% during low season and 85% during high season. That's the occupancy rate that we used as assumption. So yes, there are days left. I can tell you, I'm running out in Florida. You never get 95%. It just doesn't work. You can't do that. So you always have to keep a buffer, right? But still, I'd say we are somewhere conservative. Might be a bit different here in Costa Rica. Having said that, we are already blacking the main holidays, right? If you would want to go for that, I think it's just fair if you pay the full price, because, then it's pretty costly, and otherwise you're going to fight over it as co-owners. But except that, I think, we can come to, there are different options that I'm more than happy to develop, and then, we can put them on the table and make a decision on them by vote to see what fits best for whom.
I think it's a good idea maybe to offer rainy season, like some dates in the rainy season when these homes are making less money. That could be an interesting idea. It's a good idea.
It's a super good idea. And I just want to encourage, again, everyone, that if those are concerns, that are holding you back from a fractional ownership, then that shouldn't be the case. Because as fractional owners, you're holding a share in the company that is owning it, and as part of that, you're part of the decision-making process. You can propose, we can adjust. It will always require majority vote to adjust the operating agreement, and we do that anyway once a year, right? There are certain things like the sales event which require a higher amount of votes. I think we've currently got 70% because, again, you want to set some things in stones, and selling usually is one of those things that you want to clarify in a co-ownership agreement right from the scratch. While how do you use it and self-use questions, or also the question, how do you distribute the profit, or do you keep it for further upgrades, nicer furniture, whatever else? Those are the things, that we decide once a year based on majority vote.
So Yoko has 27% of the...
Yes.
And then I don't know what the average is for other members, but maybe 2 or 3 other members is 51%. So you have 4 people or 4 entities that can block anything that anybody else wants to do. So I think it's to say, if you don't like the idea of how it's set up now, come join us and you can vote to change it, isn't very practical. So I know you're having trouble with just one right now, but I think for Nico and other people who want to see a different one, maybe there could be a second one that has a different structure, because whatever structure is in place at the beginning, there's a pretty good chance that's going to stay the structure. You can change it, but a lot of people have to want to change it.
Good points.
So if you come in with 50K, that gives you something like 4.7 or 4.8% right now, right? So having Yoko with 27%, you're not so quickly reaching the 50%. So far, I think the highest that we have is 100K, and that is and that would then be shy of 10%, right? The point is, yes, about the second joint venture, right? And I mean, I for one want to have a more long-term place here in Yoko, and I probably would want to have an ocean view, and maybe I'm going with David's model instead of with a horizontal, right? So I think the way I'm thinking about this is a great entry point, right? We can build it very quickly. It can be finished within a year. We've got everything in place. Half of the money is already deposited, more than half of the money, plus the land title is already transferred. We can get to know each other, right? We can see how it works, what we like about the setup, what not, and then those who want to go more long-term can then jointly select a new lot, jointly decide on the model that we want to build, and then jointly design the operating agreement. So I wouldn't think it as 2 different options. In my eyes, it is really from that, let's start with this. It's easy, it's simple, it goes relatively quick, it's all established, and then we can take it already maybe a year in or half a year in already and consider the second joint venture.
I think overall people are very open also to do, we're a very flexible community. And at the same time, I understand, we've talked about this a lot, because the idea of joint venture number 4 is investment profit, not like, it's to get started, to get a feel with Yoko if you're not ready to do the bigger commitment. At the same time, I think we can do somewhere in the midlines, and we can change right now because this is still going, right? We believe it's going to get closed after this event, since a lot of people expressed interest in that. But definitely for Yoko, we are in the joint venture business, meaning we have a lot of land and we want to encourage more people and do more joint ventures. So definitely after this one, we might do another one. Hopefully Tobias will want to lead that one too, because he's amazing.
I had a question about the HOA dues. Do they start from the second you buy the land, or is that if the land's sitting for 5 years, someone's not building on it, are you paying, if you don't have a home built, those fees?
That's a good question. We're not planning to charge fees if you're not there.
Okay. And then also, I just wanted to say thank you because my heart is super full of gratitude for this event. It's been super easy to have fun. Everyone is super high vibe. And I know we've only seen a sliver of the work that you've put in. And I'm super grateful for the magic that you've created here and you're sharing with each of us. So thank you to you and all of your team. But we need to give them a shout out because this has been incredible. So thank you.
So ditto to the gratitude and a lot of respect and admiration. And without asking you to repeat anything that you said or reiterate things, but just to like get the vision behind the dream in like 10, 20 years, like in your words, describe the vision really long term.
I see Yoko as a community and a brand. The community will attract more developers that are having the same intentions, and this is actually already happening. And so I see we've made like some calculations about how fast we could grow if we would get all the funding in the world, and it's where we don't want to be WeWork. We don't want to grow irresponsibly. So I more see a vision of more communities that are adapting the model, and I see the Yoko members being more free. It's all about that additional freedom that because you're a member in this and you have a nice home somewhere in a beautiful place in nature, that you could have that freedom to use other people's homes, swap, and be part of this global community. So I'm seeing a global community in the vision, and I see collaboration with other eco-villages that are not Yoko, first and foremost. And we actually started something that we kind of put on hold over the last 2 months because we were fundraising and we were busy. But we're getting back to it actually right after this event. That we started this thing called Global Eco-Village Collective, and then apparently there is the Global Eco-Village Collective, and they're threatening to sue us if we don't change the name. So we're just going to change the name for that and continue. And we are already in discussions. If you're on the newsletter, you're going to get an invitation for a webinar. So the idea is that once a month we would meet on a webinar and another eco-village somewhere around the world that we think the values are there would present it themselves and see how we can collaborate. And I see that. I see more of a global eco-village, a real global eco-village collective, not the one that's threatening to sue us. That doesn't sound very eco-villagey for them. But, yeah, so it's all about the additional freedom, and if we could have an education, like kind of like a unified education that would be so that you could take your kids from here to Italy to Hawaii, wherever we're going to be, or there's going to be these communities that you can have a follow-up on the education for your children, because that's essentially is what blocks a lot of us new age folks who just want to live more freely, and we don't want to spend the next 20 years in the same neighborhood. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. It smells really good here. I was hungry. You guys want to eat? Yes. Thank you so much.